Good morning, Manchester. It's lovely to be here in lovely Manchester weather. And I've actually got a selfie with Andy Burnham, I have to tell you. It's really nice to see him supporting the Daily Mile, and thank you, Hayley, for inviting me here. I've seen a lot of the work you've done in Greater Manchester. It seems like no time since I was here before. And today you've got 40-odd thousand children running the Daily Mile. It's utterly remarkable. So well done for that. I know nationally and in Manchester we have a way to go to get all children doing the Daily Mile, but what a marvellous start you've made here. So I'll talk generally about the Daily Mile, something about what you've done in Greater Manchester and nationally, and look at some possible community links with the Daily Mile, and I see you've built some already in Manchester. So the whole school approach to the Daily Mile, I'd like to say, you know, that we planned it all intricately and started it, but actually it developed over a month in the school that I was head teacher of St Ninian's Primary School in Stirling in February 2012. So a volunteer said to me, Elaine, the children are not fit. And kind of in Glaswegian, I thought, oh, what? You know, tell me something, you know, that I need to hear, you know, what, children are not fit. We're doing our best. However, something, you know, I kind of knew what the volunteer was saying was right. So I asked the PE teacher, Marion, are the children not fit? And she said, Elaine, most of them are exhausted by the warm-up in PE. And what I know now is, in non-Daily Mile schools across the UK, 66% of 10-year-olds have no basic fitness. I'm happy to say that we have the evidence that shows that in a Daily Mile school, the children are pretty much all fit, apart from perhaps the non-attenders, which is utterly remarkable. But anyway, it was true, they were not fit. So looking back, because improvement science, you know, you do a test, you then do another test, and you put some stuff in motion. I wasn't thinking that way, but you know, I did take a Year 5 class out to see if they could run around the field, and it was a total disaster. It was a shocker, and the critical thing was, looking back, that the children saw this for themselves. They actually said to Mrs. Wiley, one boy said, we couldn't run the length of ourselves, and you know, it was right enough. So that ownership, taking responsibility, is really important. So we had a sit down and agreed that why not give it a go, run around the field for 15 minutes every day and see what happens, see if you get fit. Try it for a month. And to be honest, I thought, well, a lot of them don't like cross country, you know, they're switched off from PE, some of them. Nothing will really happen. However, in 4 weeks, it was amazing. Doesn't mean I knew it was sustainable forever, so it has proved, but it was amazing. The children were fitter, they had stamina, more resilience, they were better behaved, you know, they were telling me, their teacher was telling me, and nobody wanted it to stop. So, okay, keep it going, you know, that's fine. And in the 15 minutes, it turned out that most of the children were averaging a mile, 5 laps of the field. And so the daily 15 minutes was called the Daily Mile, of course, but actually it's the daily 15 minutes. But in that time, nationally, across the country, children average a mile. So what happened next was that parents and staff were kind of bashing down my door, can our kids do it? You know, P6 are getting all the fun. And so I just said, well, whoever wants to take it up. By Easter, 5 classes. By the summer, the whole school were doing the Daily Mile. And then the nursery later on in the autumn. Our 3-year-olds, I know that Wigan's 2-year-olds are doing a daily toddle, and that's wonderful. I talk about it everywhere. We didn't have any 2-year-olds in our nursery, you know, but that's just great. And I suppose test 3 is that you could see within a month that the approach was sustainable because the children liked it so much. But 5 and a bit years on, it's still going on in St Ninian's. But I was in Leith Walk Primary 2 days ago in Edinburgh, an area of multiple deprivation, and they've been doing it for 2 years, ever since it was first on the TV, and it was amazing. They'll never stop it, the head teacher said, and there they are. It's sustainable. Because, you know, if it's not sustainable, it's not worth it. Some lovely pictures from around the country. That's Hackney. Everybody out there doing it together. That's a nursery. School with 900 children. And they've said to me, this is in Slough, we can't get the children fit and out of breath every day without doing the Daily Mile. And I could see in Leith Walk Primary for myself, because in St Ninians we had a great big field, we were really lucky, Stirling's a wee bit rural. In Edinburgh, they had a hall which had to be, assembly and lunch times, was out of use. And it would be about, it was tiny, it was about that end of the Ure Hall there. Not enough for 200 children. And they had no playground, they only could run around the school. And the head teacher said to me, there is no other way our children could be fit, and they're fit as fleas, but they do the Daily Mile. And so, in a restricted site, it works. This is important. No child has to run a mile. And in the 15 minutes, because the Universities of Stirling and Edinburgh in 2015 did some research, it's going to be published soon. I've been saying that for a year, but it really is. And in the 15 minutes, this is how far they run. So the younger children, 75% of them do a mile or more, 5 laps or more in our case. 90% of the older children. We've got children, because apparently the fit get fitter doing the Daily Mile, we've got some proof of that. We've got children who are doing 2 miles in 15 minutes. I saw one in Leith Walk the other day, just about 6.5 minute mile. They're so fit. 10% of the children are not doing a mile, but you know what, they're getting there. There are various reasons for that. So the core principles, because if you're doing it at breakfast club or after school or at lunchtime, or the children are walking it, or you're doing it once a week, the clues in the daily, there are core principles, and if you don't stick to them, it's not the Daily Mile, it won't work and it won't be sustainable. So it's everybody, every child, every day. One of the universities said to me, no, there's nothing that includes everyone. I said, there is. The Daily Mile is every child, and that's across the country. And this is the key. It's social and it's fun. And I've got slide after slide of our Twitter feed of children with big smiles on their faces, and it's fun. They have to own it. It has to be theirs, and it's fun. And it's health and well-being. Looking back, we grabbed health and well-being for the children. It's not sport, it's not PE. And it doesn't look like sport or PE, it looks like children having fun. But the access to sport and PE has been a joy. And I loved us collecting the team gold year after year at the Scottish Cross-Country Championships, because our kids it was amazing. But it was never meant to be that. That was just a spin-off. It's not competitive, and that's important. Children are children, they're all different, and some want to compete, and they usually compete against themselves. It's always a time, never a distance. So if you're making if making every child do a mile, it's not the Daily Mile, it's just 15 minutes. And they run or jog, depending on their abilities, of course, and the walking they're not meant to walk it all the way. Walk to catch your breath, and maybe have a quick blether and then move on. But it's mainly about running and jogging. Almost all weathers, I know, like us in Scotland, Manchester, you have plenty of weather, and so children are resilient out in most of the weather, not the worst of the weather. Works best, time the teacher's choosing, and ordinary school clothes. If 2 children don't have their trainers, it doesn't matter. Some don't change into trainers at all. But when I was in Leith Walk a couple of days ago, they were wearing all sorts of stuff. Most of the children didn't have school uniform, but they were out in their ordinary school clothes. So the benefits, are many. But this is a critical one. A PE specialist came and saw this and looked at the children and said, your children think that running's normal. And we know that it's not normal for children to run, but it's in their DNA. They just run. We can prove that they get fit in 4 weeks, and then they get even fitter. We've impacted on obesity. Attainment, I've got a slide at the end, and it's quite dramatic. Apparently that's huge. We have a mental health crisis in our schools, in our young people, and there's no doubt at all that we know that all these things, all these benefits happen with physical activity. It's how do you do it? How do you get children physically active every single day? And you do it by doing the Daily Mile in their schools and nurseries where they are every day. And that's really important, children, the other day, a lot of schools, but I'm just remembering this from a couple of days ago, wee boy, fell over, and the teacher said, bounce up, and up he got and went on. You know, resilient children. I don't mean this, you know, you don't want to be falling and skinning their knees all the time, but it does build resilience, being out in the weather, you know, self-esteem and determination to succeed. Physical literacy, which is really important. Children learn to read by reading, write by writing, run by running. And they know that they're feeling better. And the less well they felt, and you know, because like 66% of children not fit, up to 50% of 12-year-olds obese or overweight, they really notice when they're suddenly discovered fitness for the first time. And they start to talk about their diet and their overall health. It becomes part of their consciousness. And this is amazing. You know that wherever children are, they're all at school. And forgive the pun, it's a level playing field. They're all doing the Daily Mile. It closes the gap in their health between the most and least advantaged. Children with special needs take part routinely. Children with mobility difficulties, children with complex needs, can be used therapeutically, out they go. Children on the autistic spectrum disorder. Children with various conditions who've never run before, and we've seen them across the country actually running. A boy with cerebral palsy who'd never run before, sprinting, stopping, to show off that he could do this Daily Mile because it was there for him. Social, you know, when children on the spectrum play alongside each other, or children with complex needs play alongside each other, not necessarily with, but amazingly enough on the Daily Mile, there are opportunities for them to play with each other, and I've got a slide that'll show that, and that's this slide, and this is a school in Leatherhead for children with complex needs, and the head teacher and teachers wanted me, and parents wanted me to talk about this, and they never looked this happy except after their Daily Mile, and this focused, and there they are, and it was a joyous thing to see. I saw their Daily Mile, and there they are, happy as anything. And children with special needs in mainstream take part routinely. I've heard of one or two stories of fairly white-knuckle rides if the children get to feel them round, but I never said that, you know, but they did enjoy it. And looking back, we did things differently. We didn't plan to do things differently, but it evolved over a month that we did things differently. And what we'd done was we'd removed the barriers to participation in physical activity at school. And so some of those barriers were a sense of failure. You can easily, you know, it's very visible, your failure at PE, if you're really not good, if you're overweight, if you can't do the things. In the Daily Mile, and again, somebody had to tell me this, an expert from outside, these children, no matter their age, ability, or circumstances, are succeeding at their own Daily Mile. There's no sense of failure, and they have ownership of it. That's really important in a school. There's no time wasted, you know, no equipment set up for the teachers, tidy up, warm up, no messing, slick transitions, pencils down, out you go. Jog, jog, run, run, back in, 15 minutes. And, you know, we said that. A risk assessment of the path or the track, you know, that's fairly simple. Ours had, for example, 3 classes out max. The direction you run in, checking out, you know, things like, you know, if the path's a bit dodgy or whatever, but, you know, manage the risk. No training for staff. One of the head teachers said the teacher opens the door and goes out with the children, and the children actually know how to run. And it's true, children naturally know how to run. And this was huge, no kit. And on reflection, we had children with no kit or really uncool kit. We had the catchment. I know, sorry, I've forgotten your first name, but it's Andrew. Yeah. Andrew, you know St Ninians, and it's got a really diverse catchment area, some of the wealthiest and poorest suburbs of Stirling. And so we had the coolest kit and the uncoolest kit, the lost, the dirty, the forgotten kit. Time spent changing, none. You will know, some of you, how long Year 6 girls can actually take to get changed and to get unchanged. It's unbelievable. And really importantly, they're out in what they're wearing. No undressing in front of anyone, no body image issues that we've heard of. And it would be, you know, if it wasn't transferable, there'd be no point. However, I wouldn't be here today talking with you. However, it was clear then, as it is now, that the whole school approach is transferable. And we know that upwards of 3,000 schools are taking part in the Daily Mile across 30 countries, and we can't keep up with demand. And it's transferable because it's so simple to do. It's completely simple to implement, and it's totally free. All you need is somewhere for the children to run. You need the children and the teachers. That's all you need. Not a penny needs to be spent. And you know, on reflection, in Scotland, we have health and well-being as part of the curriculum, up here with literacy and numeracy, the three biggies. And auditing the curriculum, you know, often health and well-being, it tends to be a message. This is a practical solution in our schools and nurseries. This is huge from across, we have evidence from across the country of impact on focus and behaviour of individual children and also of classes. And if any of you have ever been in a school in the afternoon when it's been a wet day and they haven't been out all day, it's like a pressure cooker. You'll get that, you know. We have evidence to show that it raises. We know that physical activity raises attainment. How do you get them physically active? That's the key. There's no doubt about the evidence that physical activity raises attainment, but getting them active on a daily basis is the hard bit, and that's the bit that the Daily Mile overcomes. And teachers and staff really benefit, and that they're out in the fresh air with the children, for relationships benefit, for 15 minutes every day, and many of them take the opportunity to run, jog, walk with the children, as well as motivating the children. It makes a huge difference to their health. Parents really love the Daily Mile, and it's been driven across the country by parents. And in actual fact, you will probably be aware of how important it is that parents love something when you're doing it in a school. That's really key. And happily, parents really love this. And now there are new requirements in England for daily physical activity, and here's 15 minutes. We have the evidence now, about to be published, that 15 minutes of the Daily Mile is enough to make the difference in their health. I don't mean only 15 minutes, but 15 minutes of the Daily Mile in addition to what they're doing the rest of the day. I love these two. No planning, measurement, assessment, no workload for teachers or schools. I mean, schools, you probably know, are, you know, the workload for teachers is really at a critical point in Scotland and in England. And so the last thing they need is any extra workload, any databases, any information gathering, you know. It's a benefit, not a burden, to implement the Daily Mile. The teachers benefit. They don't need to fill in any forms, do any planning, anything like that. And the language of friendship, and I heard it the other day, and you know, supportive language from teachers, from children, supporting each other, going round. It's amazing to see the language, the body language of friendship all the way around. You might think, you know, that the big ones would knock the wee ones off the path. Not a bit of it. They're looking after each other and supporting each other. You know, nothing complicated about it. I mean, when I say the entire school can take part, I don't mean all at once, although sometimes we did that and that was great fun. But it's industrial quantities of children. We're talking about a national cohort, a city cohort of children can take part in the Daily Mile. And I've got that's Woodfield in Wigan, and they put photographs up every day, and I just make me smile every day. And that's what children doing the Daily Mile look like. They're laughing, they're together, they're in the fresh air. And that's in London. You don't often see wee girls running like that, you know, consistently. And this is really, really vital, because on reflection we had to say, why is it sustainable? It's sustainable because the children love it. Why do they love it? What makes it different? And so, I'd like you, all of you, to think of a memory from your childhood when you were playing and you were happy. And don't tell anyone, just think of a memory. This is the work of Sue Palmer. Do you know who she is on a child? Anyway, right. Think of a memory from your childhood when you were playing happily. And don't tell anyone. I'll give you 15 seconds. How many? Thank you. Doing fine. John's keeping me on track. You know, he's tipping me. It's good. And he gets me places. This is my husband, John, you know, poor soul. Okay, have you got your memory? Yes. Okay. This time I want you to answer me. I'm going to ask you 3 questions about this memory of childhood when you were playing happily. Were you indoors or outdoors? Outdoors. Were you on your own or with others? And were there adults organising you and telling you what to do? No. And that is childhood. Famous 5. That, you know, that's what childhood is. It's fresh air, being outside is absolutely vital for every part of your development, with your friends, all ages, doesn't matter, having fun, and a sense of freedom. The children on the Daily Mile are not exactly free. It's a risk-assessed activity, but they tell me they feel free. And so the best stab I can make at why it's so sustainable is that it meets these needs of childhood in 15 minutes every day. And when you think of the lives of some of our families, you know, the poorest 20-25% can't afford 1 penny to spend on leisure. It's so hard. Their lives are really difficult, you know. To provide an outdoor childhood for their children in some of the areas is really, really hard. It happens in the Daily Mile. We all know that regular exercise is good for us, and again, it's how to do it. And I know that Greater Manchester Moving is looking at ways to get adults and the community moving. And the critical shift, I now know this from public health point of view, is from inactive to somewhat active. So it's not necessary, you know, you don't need to be, at the gym to be physically active. You know, you can just do it for yourself, taking responsibility for yourself. So children and teachers are active in the Daily Mile. There are health benefits, as we said, for teachers and other school staff, but there are lots of examples of community engagement across the country, some lovely ones from Greater Manchester, of the community doing the Daily Mile with the children, having the path available before and after school for families, Fit Family Fridays, all manner of things that are happening around the country, and children giving this to their parents and encouraging them, you know. Children used to encourage their parents to stop smoking, still do. There is encouraging their parents to do the Daily Mile. And children are fitter to do what families do at the weekend. That, you know, they can walk for 5 miles, they can go up a hill. Children, parents, staff as leaders is really important in terms of their own health. You know, nobody's going to make you fit. It's you that's going to make you fit. Whether you're 2 or 22 or 92, you have responsibility. And in the nursery, we expect children to be independent learners. We expect them to take responsibility for their learning. And the Daily Mile allows children and communities who join in to do something about their own health, make it easy for them to actually take some responsibility for their bodies. And in Scotland, we're hoping to be the first Daily Mile nation, and the Daily Mile is now in workplaces, so Scottish Power have led the way. They've got a workforce of 6,500 across the UK, and they've asked their staff to do the Daily Mile. And the government has written to nurseries, primary schools, secondaries, universities, colleges, workplaces, to ask them to do the Daily Mile, because it's so simple. So this is some pictures. That's a Scottish nursery. I'm illustrating here. The staff love it. That's what they said on this Twitter feed. Those are Greater Manchester mums having a laugh and doing the Daily Mile at one of your schools. And that's them. That's the same school. And they're just the same as the children. Some of them are, you know, powering along. Some are having a blether. You know, they're just there doing their Daily Mile. Families engaged on a Daily Mile during the school day. And I think that's Fit Family Friday. It's dead simple to get parents into the school. I'll be very quick here. This is a research report that's been published on a primary school in Waltham Forest, and they did the Daily Mile in years 5 and 6. Those are some of the results, but the critical one is, and you can Google the report, I'll show you in a minute, but these were the improvements in SAT results. They did the Daily Mile for 10 weeks beforehand, and then they did a Daily Mile before they sat their tests every day. And, you know, I can't believe it either. Have a look, Google Coppermill report, but we have evidence from elsewhere about raised attainment. Obesity reduced at St Ninians versus Scotland after 3 years of running. That's the stats for the 8 to 11-year-olds and for the 5 to 7-year-olds. So that's 7% and 8% is really exciting. You know, these children have been running since they were 3. And just some shots from across the country. Schools do it where they can. That's World Book Day. But, you know, no fancy, you know, running tracks or anything, just what you've got. And that's 11 and 12-year-old girls running and having a laugh together on their Daily Mile. I'm going to be very quick here because I'm nearly finished. Has to be 3 days a week, otherwise they're not fit to do it. They do what they can, run or jog as much as possible. You don't want it to be the path to be a mile, otherwise someone will be over there when you want to get them back in. 5 to 12 laps is ideal. Wide enough to be social, don't overcomplicate it, but you can do little child-pleasing, you know, measurements and activities, running to laps to Lapland, running to Big Ben, whatever, you know. Every child, every day. Those are our contact details, and I'm going to leave you with that lovely slide of children enjoying their Daily Mile. Well done for what you've achieved in Greater Manchester, and I'm looking forward to walking with you. I've got a sore hip this afternoon, so thank you very much for listening.